I'm Nikki.
And I'm Jess.
She's the traumatized.
And she's the abandoned. And welcome to our podcast,
where we talk about true crime, spooky things, and everything in between.
And today, we're going to be talking about some deadly engineering. Let's go. I'm not going to say it, but I am. Everybody, those
so
who know,
excited.
know. If you know, you know. I am excited. Yeah, so how was your week?
So we went from friend drama to now family drama. But
it always hits that way, doesn't it?
Right? But yeah, I'm doing okay. I cried this morning.
Stop.
I cried because Beanie finally went potty in the toilet.
Oh, it was a good cry. It was a happy cry. Oh, we like happy cries. Don't stop. That's awesome.
I think I spent like an hour because as soon as like we woke up, I took him in the bathroom and like, we're not leaving this bathroom until you go potty. And then I spent like an hour with him watching, you know, the singing potty songs on YouTube. And
yeah, finally
it's like 11 o'clock and I'm like, babe, you need to swap out with me because I got to get ready for the podcast. And so he wouldn't let Seth in, but I was like, all right, I gotta go. You can't leave here till you go potty. So I went to go to the bathroom because I had to go to the bathroom. And Seth was letting the dogs outside to go to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden from my bathroom, I hear, Mommy, I went potty. And I'm like, no way. Because he's done that before where he's like sat on the toilet, pretended to go, and then be like, I did it.
Right. He's a smart kid.
And so he like ran up to Seth because obviously he couldn't find me. He's like, I went potty or whatever. And Seth went to the bathroom and he actually had gone potty in the toilet.
Yay!
So, and then he asked for big boy underwear all by himself.
Holy hell.
So
that's what they say though. They say like when they're ready, they're ready. And so that's really exciting. Oh my God, that's so exciting.
But yeah,
because you really can't force them to do it. Like,
it's been a year of forcing him to do it. Like,
yeah,
so frustrating and so like disheartening. And then
yeah,
I don't know. It was just like all of those emotions. Like, I was like, oh my God,
yay. Yeah. So for any parents who are out there struggling, because it is a struggle, there's light at the end of the tunnel, and you're not alone. Like, yeah, I mean, even like our IRL friends have a 5-year-old and they're struggling too. So it's not just you. It's not just, you know, it's hard. Some kids just do not want to be potty trained. That's exciting. Happy.
Yay. How was your week?
It was good. Well, it was good. It was one of those things where I had relaxed a lot. Actually, like, I was getting back into the rhythm of things, trying to like get ready for Christmas because I get so hyped for Christmas. And I had relaxed myself too much because in kicks in the door of the narcissist controlling mayhem while I'm working. Like, it was hard, but I wasn't prepared for it. So it definitely affected me. However, I was able to like bounce back a lot faster than I normally do. So that's exciting.
Fast. Does this happen what, Thursday? Or what?
Wednesday into Thursday.
Wednesday into Thursday, yeah.
And I was able to really kind of take control of the situation. Usually it's me just like floundering and feeling and drowning. And this time I was just like, you need to stop. These feelings that you're projecting onto me are not mine. And I don't know what happened, but you're lashing out and it's not fair to me. You need to figure it out. And so we were able to talk it out, and she's really hurt because my brother ended up changing his plans, and that made her try to cling and reach and like really get hurt when I said I had not even plans, but I was thinking about doing. And she like literally just started attacking me. And I'm like, so I told her, I was like, I understand you're upset and you're disappointed, and that's very valid because you guys, whatever, it's a big deal for her if you have plans, but you need to reach out to him, not me. Like, you need to take it out on him. Not take it out on him, but like, you need to like deal with that and not come at me.
Right.
yeah, so she did that and listened to me. So that was exciting.
Interesting.
But walls are they're strong
back
there,
up.
up there, erect there, not going anywhere until after Christmas. But it was very different.
You're getting better at standing up for yourself.
So
Just
are
something
you.
we're both learning.
So are you. I was actually just talking to Tim about that today. I was like, I'm so freaking proud of her. Like, you have no idea how happy I am that you're growing. And
I mean, even when I like talked to my grandma yesterday, she was basically saying the same thing. Cause like I gave the example of like I had some really bad friend. She's like, you sound so happy. And I was like, yeah, I recently, got rid of some friends that were treating me badly. And she's like, you just sound so good. And like, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
It takes a while for us to sometimes learn that people aren't good for us. So yeah. It was more validation that I had done the right thing.
That's something else too I've noticed. Like, people are like, oh my God, you just seem so much happier. And I'm like, was I not happy before?
Yeah,
was
I not?
Was I not doing good? I guess not. But yeah, no, it feels good. The validation definitely feels good. And then rearing up for Christmas, because this is coming out like 2 weeks before Christmas. Dude, we went to we passed by our Christmas tree spot. We usually we'll drop like $50 for like a decent tree, like a really pretty tree, like a perfect tree. The smallest tree they have is fucking $40. I don't know if we're getting a tree this year. Like, we're not gonna be here for Christmas at $40, like, for a crappy tree. But I really like Christmas trees, so
don't look at me. I get fake trees. I love fake trees.
You love fake trees? Well, they smell like plastic. Why do you like
they don't smell at all?
Exactly. That's the reason you get a Christmas tree.
Or get a candle that smells like pine.
It is not the same, damn it, and you know it.
I've never had a real tree. I don't know what they I don't know that experience, and I don't.
It's like the best. It just smells so good.
If I can spend like $100 on a decent tree and have it for like the next 10 years, like, I'm good.
I mean, logically that makes sense, but emotionally I want a real tree.
I assume there's a lot of mess and upkeep with a real tree, and like, is there?
I mean, yeah, there can be.
Okay.
Like, the pine needles fall, but like we have a tree skirt, and so the pine needles fall on the tree skirt. So we just, and then you do have to water it. So there's that. But it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. Anyway.
And you're kind of hurting the environment, chopping down trees every year.
They have farms that they literally grow them. It's like natural grown trees that we're just chopping down.
Just saying.
But whatever. Meh.
The great Christmas tree debate. Fake or real?
Let us know in the comments what you guys get. We'll fight about it later. No. So, are you ready for the fun fact of the day?
I am.
Okay.
So excited.
So, did you know that tears contain a natural painkiller which reduces pain and improves your mood? So sometimes you really do just need to cry.
With the pain like in your eye? Like, I'm confused. Where does I
don't know. It's just a natural painkiller. So I don't know if it releases like stuff in your body that like does it.
Interesting. I mean, when you get hurt, you cry. So I guess
and it helps.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That was my fun fact of the day.
Love it.
Okay, what are you talking to me about? I am so excited for this.
Is everyone ready?
Oh, are we buckling?
Are you guys ready?
I mean,
to add
I can't be.
The fear of bridges to your list of fears.
No. I drive over one like a lot.
Because I'm pretty sure by the end of this story, we're gonna all have a brand new fear together. You're welcome.
Thanks, Nikki. Let's go. New fear unlocked. Okay.
So imagine you are on your way home around 6:05 p.m. You just got off work. You're just getting out of school. Whatever you're doing, you're just making your way home. And you're driving across the Interstate 35 West Mississippi River Bridge. in somewhat of a standstill traffic, when all of a sudden the ground beneath your car is gone and you are plummeting toward the Mississippi River.
No, that's like a legit, like, it's so scary. Because, like, have you ever been on a really big bridge?
Yeah.
They fucking shake. Like, if you ever stop on a bridge and cars are going by you, it shakes. It moves. No.
Have you ever gone
thank
across
you.
the Chesapeake Bay Bridge?
Yeah.
The long, oh my gosh.
And then the tunnel. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know which ones were scary, the tunnel or the bridge.
Just all of it combined.
Yeah, just the whole experience is just terrifying.
For 111 vehicles and their occupants, this nightmare became a reality in August of 2007 in Minneapolis, Minnesota. At 6:05 p.m. on August 1st, the bridge was filled with rush hour traffic and construction crews, and the traffic was moving slowly through a limited number of lanes. The central span of the bridge suddenly gave way, followed by the adjoining spans. The structure and the deck collapsed into the river and onto the riverbanks below, the south part toppling 81 feet down to the river, or onto its banks. Northern sections fell into a rail yard, landing on 3 unoccupied and stationary freight cars. This is a video. This is the
we're
bridge.
watching. Okay. Oh, God.
Are you ready?
Okay. Oh, no. I mean, yes. I mean, oh, no. Okay. That literally made my heart drop. Oh, my God.
It's like on a loop, so it'll, yeah. So you can, basically it just fell straight down.
Oh, my God.
So basically it was this was like a traffic camera. So this is like right after the collapse.
Can you imagine being like the car is like right before it dropped? Oh my God. That is so insane. It's just gone. That's
just
so crazy.
Gone.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Wow. Like, imagine being those 2 cars.
Right? Like and on this video you can see where this is an 8-lane highway.
Yeah.
And in the video you can see where it was reduced to 4 lanes for construction work. So
yeah.
The 2 lanes here and the 2 lanes here that are closed for construction work.
Oh my God. Wow. That's just terrifying. Holy shit. Holy shit. That is so crazy.
I remember this happening.
You do?
Mm-hmm. This was like national coverage when this happened.
I mean, obviously.
I've structured this story a little differently. So we're going to go into like victims, rescue, and then investigation.
Okay.
So that's kind of how I structured it this time. So a total of 111 vehicles were involved, sending their occupants and 18 construction workers as far as 115 feet down to the river or onto its banks. 13 people were killed and 145 people were injured, many suffering from back injuries, brain injuries, and trauma.
Jesus.
Lindsay Waltz was on her way home from work and was one of the many rescued from the water. She was interviewed recently, I think in 2021, the article was, and she describes those moments. So these are her words. Traffic came to a stop. I was going southbound and traffic was stop and go starting about at the quarry. And that alone was weird. Not a typical day at all. And so I almost got off at the university exit right before the bridge, but I decided against it for various reasons. I got to the middle of the bridge when it actually collapsed. I heard a big clank, is what I call it, which I think was probably a beam snapping. And it was pretty much immediate that my car started to free fall into the river.
Oh my God.
I stayed conscious the whole time. My car immediately filled with water, so I had to find my way out through murky water and everything was closed up. All the windows were still intact that I had felt. And it really was some kind of miracle, I guess, that something gave way. At some point in my search for a way out, I kind of stopped looking for a way out and started to just move into accepting that this was it. And this was where I would die. And then I started to float and floated kind of beyond the confines of my car. And that's the best that I can come up with for how I got out of my car. That day was magic. Luckily, when I got to the surface, one of the construction workers who had fallen with the bridge as well, he saw me and encouraged me over to the concrete and pulled me out of the water. Though Lindsay survived, she had a broken back from the incident that kept her in the hospital for days. But her most significant injury was the PTSD she still deals with to this day.
I don't know if I'd ever be able to get back on a damn bridge.
She had said at one point every time she drives across the bridge, she has her hand on the window button.
Oh my God. Oh, ew. Jeez, that's so terrifying.
Right?
That's so scary. Oh my God.
So we're going to go into the rescue. Civilians immediately took part in the rescue efforts. Only a few vehicles were submerged, but many people were stranded on the collapsed sections of the bridge. Several vehicles caught fire, including a semi-trailer truck, which you can see in the second picture. You can see the smoke coming up from it. Oh my
God, yeah.
And a school bus carrying 63 children ended up resting precariously against the guardrail of the collapsed structure near the burning semi-truck, which you can see in the picture.
Oh my God.
They were returning from a field trip to a water park. Jeremy Hernandez, a 20-year-old staff member on the bus, assisted many of the children by kicking out the rear emergency exit and escorting/carrying the children to safety. The Minneapolis Fire Department arrived in just 6 minutes and responded quickly, helping people who were trapped in their vehicles. Triage centers were set up at each end of the bridge. They took 81 minutes to triage and transport 145 patients. So they did this rescue very quickly.
You would have to, because I would be worried that the rest of the bridge was going to collapse. Like, holy shit.
During the first 40 hours, 11 area hospitals treated patients, with at least 22 of those being children.
Jeez.
The fire department set up a command center in the parking lot of the local American Red Cross, which just happened to be next to the bridge. The fire department managed the ground operations while the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office was in charge of the water operation. The city provided 75 firefighters and 75 law enforcement units. Rescue of stranded victims on the bridge was complete in 3 hours. The United States Army Corps of Engineers brought in several cranes and other heavy machinery to assist in clearing debris for the rescue workers. Now we're going to go into the recovery.
Jesus. Okay.
By the next morning, they had shifted their focus to the recovery of the bodies, with several vehicles being trapped under the debris and several people still unaccounted for. 20 divers organized by the sheriff's office used side scan sonar to locate vehicles submerged in the murky water. Recovery of the deceased victims took over 3 weeks.
Holy shit.
Yeah. The U.S. Navy sent 17 divers and a 5-person command and control element from its mobile diving and salvage unit. The Navy dive team started diving operations hours after arriving around 2 a.m, and they conducted operations around the clock for the next 3 weeks.
Just like these pictures are the whole, like...
Yeah. Now you understand why I couldn't just choose like a couple to show you.
No. Jeez.
Divers and underwater search evidence response team from the FBI also joined the response efforts on August 7th, bringing with them truckloads of specialized equipments. In total, 75 local, state, and federal agencies were involved in the rescue and recovery, including personnel and volunteers from surrounding states. A family assistance center was set up and provided services for the victims and their families, assisted them in locating family members, and providing a calm presence. And here I have a couple of side notes that we can cut out. The Mayo Clinic, which is a medical center in that area, had a transport helicopter on standby, and the Minnesota National Guard also had a medevac helicopter on standby. And the Minnesota National Guard had up to 10,000 Guard members ready to help. My other side note is, as of August 8th, more than 500 Red Cross volunteers and staff personnel counseled 2,000 people with grief, trauma, missing persons, and medical issues, and served over 7,000 meals to the first responders.
Wow.
So on August 20th, the last victim was pulled from the river. After the last victim was removed from the wreckage, Carl Bolander and Sons, which was an earthworks and demolition contractor, began dismantling the bridge remnants. Crews first moved the cars, then shifted to removing the bridge pieces, and they had to work very carefully to preserve the parts so that they could be later investigated to find the cause of the collapse. So, the investigation. The National Transportation Safety Board immediately began a comprehensive investigation that was expected to take up to 18 months. Immediately following the collapse, the governor announced that an Illinois-based engineering firm of Wisjani Elsner Associates Incorporated had also been selected to provide essential analysts that would parallel the investigation. So basically, the National Transportation Board of Safety were conducting an investigation, and the governor had a separate company conduct a separate investigation so that they could compare the two, basically. The Interstate 35 West Mississippi River Bridge was an 8-lane steel truss arch bridge, which is a bridge that combines elements from a truss bridge and an arch bridge. Basically, what that means is it had a flat top with arches supporting it.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So there's no like above structure, if that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah.
For support.
Yep. 100%.
The bridge carried Interstate 35 across the Mississippi River. It was opened in 1967 and was Minnesota's third busiest bridge, carrying 140,000 vehicles daily.
Jesus.
On the day of the collapse, road work was underway on the bridge, and 4 of the 8 travel lanes were closed to traffic, like I showed you guys in the video. At around 2 p.m., construction equipment and construction aggregates, or raw materials, on this day it was sand and gravel to make concrete, were delivered and positioned inside the closed lanes for a concrete pour that was to begin at 7 p.m. So this is kind of like where we get the investigation kind of starts to make sense.
That makes sense.
So the factors. The first factor that we're going to talk about is the weight. The estimated weight of the aggregates staged on the bridge were about 184,000 pounds of gravel and about 198,000 pounds of sand, for a total weight of around 383,000 pounds.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of weight.
The estimated weight of the part construction vehicles, equipment, and personnel in the area was about 195,000 pounds, for a grand total of estimated weight of 578,000 pounds. And this was positioned over the inner west side of the bridge center span, just north of Pier 6. So I think the 2 middle piers were Pier 6 and Pier 7. The structure were like the structures that were holding it up. So the second thing I'm going to talk about is inspection status. This is the part, people. This is the part.
Is this where we're buckling up?
Under the National Bridge Inspection Standards, bridges are inspected and rated to the condition of their deck, superstructure, and substructure. A bridge is rated structurally deficient if it has a general condition rating for the deck, superstructure, substructure, or culvert of 4 or less, and 4 means poor condition. Or if a road is like that approaches a bridge is frequently overtopped by flooding, then it usually gets a condition of 4. But that doesn't pertain to this particular bridge. A status of structurally deficient does not indicate that a bridge is unsafe, but only that the structure is in need of maintenance, repair, or eventual rehabilitation. Side note, according to data in December 2007, about 72,500 or 12% of the 600,000 bridges in the National Bridge Inventory were rated structurally deficient.
I'm sorry, what now?
About 12% of the bridges were structurally deficient.
What? Oh my god, I never want to go over across a bridge. I'm just not gonna cross rivers anymore. It's fine.
Just not gonna
It's fine.
go across rivers.
It's fine. I'll figure it out. I'll get a boat. I don't know.
Between boats sinking and bridges collapsing.
Oh my god.
So the picture that I just shared is actually this specific bridge's inspection ratings from 1883 to 2007. So the Interstate 35 bridge had been classified structurally deficient since 1991, when the superstructure received its first condition rating of 4, or like I said, poor condition.
Were they like, is that why the construction was going on? To make it better? Okay. Well, little too, oh my, I can't even joke about it.
I think I've broken Jess. That's never happened on this podcast before.
I don't like this. I don't like this. I'm usually the one that breaks you. I don't like this.
Right?
I want to go home. I want to go home. Okay, anyway, just go. I'm not going to be okay with it.
In the 2006 inspection report, so just a year before this happened, there was a lot noted wrong with the bridge. It was too much for me to even try and summarize how much was wrong with this bridge in that inspection, that I just attached the ending of the recommendation. So the recommendation was, due to the fracture critical configuration of the main river spans and the problematic cross beam details and fatigue cracking in the approach spans, eventual replacement of the entire structure would be preferable. The report went on to recommend that if replacement were to be significantly delayed, the bridge should be redecked and its superstructure repainted. Regarding the node gusset plates, the report included a photograph of one of the inside gusset plates and noted section loss at gusset plate bottom cord, pitting inside gusset plate connection, which brings us to the gusset plates.
Okay.
Just kind of like a little explanation. The gusset plates are large sheets of steel that connected the support beams to the truss structure. So basically, you have a long cross beam.
Right.
And then you have 2 angular beams that are like supporting it.
Mm-hmm.
And the gusset plate is what keeps all of that together.
Right. That makes sense. Looking at the picture really helps too.
Yeah, I'm trying to explain it to our listeners. Hopefully,
hey guys, we're also on YouTube, so if you ever
if you want to see the pictures, hit up our Instagram or YouTube.
And remind me to put this one in our Instagram post.
Okay. So, following the collapse, safety board investigators reviewed photographs taken from 1999 and 2003 evaluations of the bridge, and these photos showed visible bowing, which was a significant flaw in all 4 gusset plates. So you can see where the gusset plates are bending. I didn't put this in my notes because I actually watched a YouTube video on this before starting today. And apparently this was not only a significant flaw because of the bowing, it was a significant flaw because the gussets were too small. The design was flawed from the beginning.
I mean, we kind of knew that because it's been freaking failing inspections for 20 years. It's fine. I'm not okay.
So, on January 15th, 2008, the National Transportation Safety Board announced it had determined that the bridge's designs, specifically the steel gusset plates, were undersized and inadequate to support the intended load of the bridge, especially as the load increased over time. So especially with this bridge, they had added a bunch of things like anti-icing things, and just over time they added things that contributed to extra weight that wasn't configured in the design.
Well, not only that, but cars themselves get heavier. And now we're like, you think about like tractor trailers, like they're like double backing the trailers. I mean, there's a whole interstate section. It's called the Taconic in New York, and tractor trailers are not allowed on it because it was built a long time ago and it's small. So like they can't change it to make it safe for like bigger vehicles. So like same thing, if you have like an older bridge, like how are you going to try to upgrade it so that they can be safe?
And on November 13th, 2008, the National Transportation Safety Board released its full findings. The primary cause of the collapse was the undersized gusset plates at 0.5 inches thick. Contributing to that design or construction error was the fact that 2 inches of concrete had been added to the road surface over the years, increasing the static load by 20%. Another factor was the extraordinary weight of the construction equipment and material resting on the bridge just above its weakest point at the time of the collapse.
Right.
That load was estimated at, like I said earlier, 578,000 pounds or 262 tons, consisting of sand, water, and vehicles.
Jesus.
The NTSB determined that corrosion was not a significant contributor, but that inspectors did not routinely check that safety fixtures were functional.
Oh, wow. Wow. Oh, my God.
So the aftermath. On May 2nd, 2008, the state of Minnesota reached a $38 million agreement to compensate victims of the bridge collapse. In August 2010, the last of the lawsuits against the URS Corporation was settled for $52.4 million to avoid prolonged litigation. The state of Minnesota brought a lawsuit against Jacobs Engineering Group, the successor of Servandrup and Parcel, the firm that designed the bridge. Jacobs argued too much time had passed since the 1960s design work, but in May of 2012, the United States Supreme Court turned down its appeal, allowing the state of Minnesota suit to proceed. In the end, Jacobs paid $8.9 million in November of 2012 to settle the suit without admitting wrongdoing, which, I mean, it kind of wasn't their fault because it's basically they got grandfathered into a shitty situation.
But again, it's like one of those things that, sure, they got grandfathered into a situation, but could they have taken the time to fix it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like definitely it could have been fixed. Like, any of this could have been fixed. Damn it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The replacement of the collapsed Interstate 35 West Mississippi River Bridge crosses the Mississippi River at the same location of the original bridge and carries north-south traffic on Interstate 35 West.
Wow.
It was constructed on an accelerated schedule because of the highway's function as a vital link for carrying commuters and truck freight. Flatiron Constructors and Manson Construction Company built the replacement bridge for $234 million. The Interstate 35 West St. Anthony Falls Bridge was open to the public on September 18th. 2008. I'm just, why the names? Like,
yeah,
the names are so long in this story, but here we are. All right, here's the part where you should buckle up.
What do you mean? Here's the part.
So I'm going to talk about bridges across the United States.
All right. I'm going to peace. Just let me know when you're done with this. I'm going to go. I'll be back. I'm not. Why?
So this is why I remember this collapse so specifically in my mind of when it happened, because the bridge collapse sparked immediate calls in Minnesota and across the country to invest in repairing and replacing the nation's aging and crumbling infrastructure. Like, I remember this being on the news and them talking about, you know, this is the exam. Like, why did this why did this have to happen for us to talk about our infrastructure, like, being so poor? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
According to an article written in 2017, experts said there had been some improvements, but there were still tens of thousands of bridges nationwide that needed to be fixed or replaced. The fact that the Interstate 35 West Bridge was classified as structurally deficient and fracture critical at the time, but that neither of those were necessarily dangerous, is insane to me personally.
Yeah.
Of course, the added weight can probably take most of the blame, probably be the most blame for this, but at the same time, like, fracture critical, I don't know if I go into it, but it's basically, that means that it can fracture, it can crack.
Okay.
Like parts of it can crack. So the fact that and structurally deficient were both labels that this bridge had, and I don't know. It's just...
You made me reach for a crystal. I hope you know that. I haven't had to in a minute. It's like, where is it?
Anywho, it was stated in that article, that same 2017 article, that 172 Minnesota bridges were identified as structurally deficient or fracture critical. About 120 of them had been repaired and replaced. So that's a lot.
Can you look up this information? I would have checked the bridges around me.
While 18 remaining bridges were either under construction or on the track to be repaired or replaced. So
okay.
But that's just in Minnesota, who really stepped up to improve their bridge inspections and building. But does that necessarily reflect the rest of the country?
Are you going to tell me?
According to American Society of Civil Engineers 2021 report card for America's infrastructure, there are more than 617,000 bridges across the United States. Currently, 42% of all bridges are at least 50 years old. And 46,154, or 7.5% of the nation's bridges, are considered structurally deficient, meaning that they are in poor condition. Unfortunately, 178 million trips are taken across these structurally deficient bridges every day. In recent years, though, as the average of America's bridges increased to 44 years, the number of structurally deficient bridges has continued to decline. However, the rate of improvements has slowed.
Slowed?
At the current rate of investment, it will take until 2071 to make all of the repairs.
Oh my God!
To make all of the repairs that are currently necessary, and the additional deterioration over the next 50 years will become overwhelming.
I didn't need this. I didn't need another fear to add to my list. I didn't need it.
The nation needs a systematic program for bridge preservation like that embraced by many states, whereby existing deterioration is prioritized and the focus is on a preventative maintenance. So that was the report
Why
card.
is that not already a thing? What do you mean? They're just not checking on them. It's like elevators have to be inspected. Why the fuck not bridges? I drive over so many bridges to go home. Every time I go over one now, I'm gonna send you a Snapchat with my middle finger going over one. That's what I'm gonna do.
Well, I'm done about bridge talk, so.
Oh, thank God. Okay. I need a drink.
And that's why we drink. Oh wait, that's not this
podcast. That's another podcast, which you guys should check out because it's absolutely amazing. They're like one of my favorite podcasts ever. I love them. But yeah, holy hell. That's your story?
No.
Oh, fuck off. What do you mean?
It's okay. It's okay. We've gotten past the hurdles. Now I'm just going to talk about the memorials.
Okay. All right. Okay. We're going to ease into the ending here. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So the day of the accident, the Minnesota Twins, which is the baseball team, played their home game. So they actually had a home game scheduled.
Okay. And
they were going to postpone it. But the rescuers were like, no, don't postpone it because that will send an influx of 20,000 fans. That'll,
right.
Like, what's the word? Inhibit their ability to finish the rescue or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So they're like, that's probably why it got done so fast, because there was literally no one impeding the rescue. So the Twins played their home game as scheduled, but had a moment of silence at the beginning of the game And then the Twin and Minnesota Vikings honored the victims of the collapse by placing a decal with the date of the collapse on the back wall, which stayed up the rest of their seasons. And every time you know how in baseball they like show the camera frame from behind the pitcher to the plate when they pitch or whatever.
Yep.
So the decal would be in frame every time that camera frame would be that way.
That's really cool.
About 1,400 people gathered for an interfaith service of healing held at St. Mark's Episcopal Cathedral.
Yeah.
On August 5th, 2007, when many of the victims were still missing. Among the presenters were representatives of the Christian, Islamic, Jewish, Hindu, Native American, and Hispanic communities. Police, fire, and emergency responders, the governor, the mayor, a choir, and several musicians all gathered for that. And then Gold Medal Park near Guthrie Theater was a gathering place for those who wished to leave flowers or remembrances for those who had died. And the Interstate 35 West Bridge Remembrance Garden is a memorial commemorating the victims and the survivors of the Interstate 35 West Bridge collapse, located off West River Parkway in Minneapolis. This $900,000 memorial was funded by the Minneapolis Foundation, and the park land was provided by the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board. The design of the Remembrance Garden was created by Tom Oslin alongside survivors and relatives of the victims. The design was meant to incorporate symbolic natural elements, including stone for stability and immortality, arborvitae trees for strength and to live for centuries, water for the ability to purify and regenerate, darkness and light for the transition between tragedy and new life.
Oh, wow.
So a prime feature in the garden includes 13 steel beam and opaque glass columns.
So cool. Yeah.
Each column has a name engraved of someone lost along with their story.
Oh, wow.
Some even written in their native language.
That is so beautiful. Wow.
These
Very
13 columns, linear length, totals 81 feet, signifying the date of the collapse, 801.
Oh, wow.
Behind the 13 columns is a black granite water wall, and on the wall, stainless steel words form the quote, "Our lives are not only defined by what happens, but by how we act in the face of it, not only by what life brings us, but by what we bring to life. Selfless actions and compassion create enduring community out of tragic events."
Should be your daily quote.
I was thinking about it, but
yeah.
Along with the quote, the names of the 171 survivors are etched onto the black stone. Another part of the memorial includes a path leading to the bluff overlooking the Mississippi River and the new bridge. And at night, the columns, pathway, and water wall are illuminated by LED lights. That's my story.
Yay. That's terrifying. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Can I switch it up a little bit? I did it's not funny, but it's like you definitely did the more serious one this trip, and I feel like I'm usually the one that like fucks with you.
I broke you, I think.
yeah, you did. You really did. But yeah, that's crazy. I'd never heard of that for some reason, but I mean, I can understand it being national news. And the fact that they're not upkept is just insane to me. Like,
or the fact that the scale is from 1 to 10 of the inspections, and the fact that a 4 does not like raise alarm bells, ding ding ding. Maybe we should like
anything under like a 6 should raise some sort of like, hey, make sure you don't overcrowd this bridge. Oh yeah, okay. Want to hear what I'm talking about?
I have one more point. And just
go for it.
the fact that the construction work was supposed to like, technically the construction work was supposed to like delay like having to replace the bridge when actually it was the catalyst of the bridge collapsing.
Isn't that interesting how that works out sometimes?
I think a lot of mistakes were made and it just too many and it collapsed.
Caused a disaster.
Mm-hmm. So what are you talking about this week?
So I'm actually going to talk about the Great Molasses Flood.
What?
Of 1919.
Okay.
So we're going back in time.
Like
Molasses Flood.
Okay. I'm ready.
Like, yep.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. So you did something very serious.
Right?
But I saw this and I was like, oh my God, I have to do this. Okay.
Yes,
so are you ready?
Absolutely. If I would have saw that, I would have been like, yeah, I have to do that too. Yeah.
I was like, hold on, Molasses Flood? Like, okay. I can't top your story. So we'll just, just hold on, I guess.
Hold on. Grab the oh shit handle. Is that what you called it?
Yes. Oh shit handle.
Yeah.
Yo. The white knuckle that shit. Anyway, so the Great Molasses Flood is also known as the Boston Molasses Disaster and was a disaster that occurred on January 15th, 1919 in the North End neighborhood of Boston, Massachusetts.
Okay.
A large storage tank filled with 2.3 million gallons of molasses.
That's a lot of molasses.
Weighing approximately 13,000 tons, burst,
I think.
and the resultant wave of molasses rushed through the streets at an estimated 35 miles per hour, and it killed 21 people and injured 150.
Oh my God. Is molasses like sticky?
Yeah.
It is? Okay.
It is. It's so sticky. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So the event entered local folklore, and residents claimed for decades afterwards that the area still smelled of molasses on hot summer days.
That's kind of funny.
Right? Molasses, just a heads up, molasses can be fermented to produce ethanol, which is the active ingredient in alcoholic beverages, and is also a key component in munitions. Just in case, little fun fact in there.
Fun fact. Got it.
The disaster occurred at a Purity Distilling Company facility at 529 Commercial Street near Kearney Square. A considerable amount of molasses had been stored there by the company, which used the Harborside Commercial Street tank to offload molasses from ships and store it for later transfer by pipeline to the Purity ethanol plant that was situated between Willow Street and Everty's Way in Cambridge. The molasses tank stood 50 feet tall and was 90 feet in diameter and contained up to 2.3 million gallons.
So we're talking like a vertical cone.
Actually,
tank.
More horizontal. It was 50 feet tall. It's 50 feet tall, but 90 feet in diameter.
Okay. So it was like a side tank. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So on January 15th, 1919, temperatures in Boston had risen above 40 degrees Fahrenheit, climbing rapidly from frigid temperatures of the preceding days. And the previous day, a ship had delivered a fresh load of molasses, which had been warmed to reduce its viscosity for transfer. So there was a lot of change in temperature. Possibly due to the thermal expansion of the older, colder molasses already inside, the tank burst open and collapsed at approximately 12:30 p.m. Witnesses reported that they felt the ground shake and heard a roar as it collapsed, a long rumble similar to one of like a passing elevated train. Others reported a tremendous crashing, a deep growling like a thunderclap bang, and the sound of machine gun as the rivets shot out of the tank.
Oh my God. Okay.
So another fun fact. We're just going to sprinkle these in here all over. So the density of molasses is 40% more dense than water. So that results in the molasses having a great deal of potential energy as well. Okay. So it's thick. And because it's thick, all that energy like bounces around inside the particles and stuff, creates more energy. We're going like, it's not physics, is it? Yeah. Creates all the energy. The collapse translated this energy into a wave of molasses 25 feet high at its peak.
No.
25 feet high.
No, you're lying.
Peak of molasses moving at 35 miles per hour.
You're lying to me.
I'm not. I'm
The
not.
fuck?
Imagine.
I'm imagining it. I'm terrified.
The wave was of sufficient force to drive steel panels of the bursting tank against the girders of the adjacent Boston Elevated Railway structure and tip a streetcar momentarily off the L's tracks. So one of the witnesses, Stephen Puelo, describes how nearby buildings were swept off their foundations and crushed. Several blocks were flooded to a depth of 2 to 3 feet of fucking molasses.
That's insane.
Right? This is the quote from the Boston report. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Molasses, waist deep, covered the streets and swirled and bubbled around the wreckage. Here and there struggled a form. Whether it was an animal or human being, it was impossible to tell. Only an upheaval, a thrashing about in the sticky mess showed where any life was. Horses died like so many flies on sticking flypaper. The more they struggled, the deeper in the mess they were ensnared. Human beings, men and women, suffered likewise.
What the fuck?
I'd never heard of this. And I'm like, what is happening?
I'm not okay. The poor horses.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to that. We're going to circle
No.
back around to that. Yeah, sorry.
You know that's why one thing.
Okay, you just made a thing of mine, so
okay.
you just made a new thing for me. So the Boston Globe reported that people were picked up by a rush of air and hurled many feet from the initial explosion.
Okay.
Others had debris hurled at them from the rush of sweet-smelling air. A truck was picked up and hurled into the Boston Harbor from the initial explosion. Wasn't exploded,
like the gust of
mm-hmm.
wow.
After the initial wave, the molasses became viscous, exacerbated by the cold temperatures, trapping those caught in the wave and making it even more difficult to rescue them. So basically, it got cold, so it started to harden.
Can you imagine suffocating to molasses?
In molasses. No. So all in all, about 150 people were injured and 21 people were killed, along with several horses. Sorry. Some were crushed and drowned by the molasses or by the debris that it carried within it. The wounded included people, horses, and dogs. Coughing fits became one of the most common ailments after the initial blast. Edwards Park wrote of one child's experience in the 1983 article for the Smithsonian. So this is another quote.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony DeStasio, walking homeward with his sisters from the Michelangelo School, was picked up by the wave and carried tumbling on its crest almost as though he was surfing. Then he grounded and the molasses rolled him like a pebble as the wave diminished. He heard his mother call his name and couldn't answer. His throat was so clogged with smothering goo. He passed out, then opened his eyes to find 3 of his 4 sisters were staring at him.
Only 3?
So the aftermath.
What do you mean?
So the aftermath.
Do we find out? Do we not find out? Oh, okay. Continue.
So the first to the scene were 116 cadets under the direction of Lieutenant Commander H.J. Copeland from the USS Nantucket, a training ship of the Massachusetts Nautical School, which is now known as the Massachusetts Maritime Academy, that was docked nearby at the playground pier. So this happened. They rushed in.
Mm-hmm.
The cadets had ran several blocks toward the accident and entered into the knee-deep flood of molasses to pull out survivors, while others worked to keep the curious onlookers from getting in the way of the rescuers, because people are stupid.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The Boston Police, Red Cross, Army, and Navy personnel soon arrived after.
Wow.
Full hands on deck here. Some of the nurses from the Red Cross dived into the molasses while others tended to the injured, keeping them warm and feeding the exhausted workers. Many of these people worked through the night, and the injured were so numerous that doctors and surgeons set up makeshift hospital in the nearby building. Rescuers found it difficult to make their way through the syrup to help the victims, and 4 days elapsed before they stopped searching. Many of the dead were so glazed over in the molasses that they were hard to recognize.
What the fuck?
Other victims were swept into Boston Harbor. They were found 3 to 4 months after the disaster.
They just drowned regularly.
I don't. Maybe. I mean, or imagine you're like covered in molasses. It starts hardening around you, and then you're dropped into freezing water. What's it gonna do?
It's gonna harden and make you sink. I hate you. Okay. You said yours wasn't as bad as mine. You lied.
I mean, I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was. Sorry.
I need to look up if there's any molasses factories near me now.
There's not.
Okay,
I don't think so. In the wake of the accident, 119 residents brought a class action lawsuit against the United States Industrial Alcohol Company, which had bought up the Purity Distilling in 1917. It was one of the first class action suits in Massachusetts and is considered a milestone in paving the way for modern corporate regulation. The company claimed that the tank had been blown apart by anarchists because some of the alcohol produced was to be used for making munitions. But a court-appointed auditor found that the USIA responsible after 3 years of hearings, and the company ultimately paid $628,000 in damages, which today is $9.82 million.
Wow.
Them damn anarchists blew it up. No. No, they didn't. So the cleanup. Cleanup crews used salt water from a fireboat to wash away the molasses and sand to absorb it. The harbor was brown with molasses until the summer, so it took months and months for all the molasses to finally go away,
like dissolve or whatever.
Yeah,
insane.
The cleanup in the immediate area took weeks, with several hundred people contributing to the effort. Rescue workers, cleanup crews, and sightseers had tracked molasses through the street and spread it to subway platforms, to the seats inside of trains, the streetcars, to the payphone handsets, and to homes and countless other places. Like literally everywhere. It was reported that everything a Bostonian touched was sticky, and that is a quote.
Ew, that's so gross. I hate that.
So I didn't want to focus on this too much, but the fatalities, there were, the youngest were 2 10-year-olds. One was the person's sister. There was another one. So there are 2 10-year-olds, and the oldest was 78. So very widespread. But the cause. So it's not anarchists. Several factors may have contributed to the disaster. The first factor is that the tank may have leaked from the very first day that it was filled in 1915.
What?
They think there was a leak in it.
They think?
The tank was also constructed poorly and tested insufficiently. And carbon dioxide production might have raised the internal pressure due to the fermentation in the tank. Warmer weather from the previous day would have assisted in the building of this pressure, as the air temperature rose from 2 to 41 degrees.
That's a big jump.
Big jump. The failure occurred, so the leak, the crack that they think was there, I mean, it obviously got blown apart, but was from a manhole cover near the base of the tank, and a fatigue crack there possibly grew to a point of critical explosion. The tank had been filled to capacity only 8 times since it was built a few years previously, putting the walls under an intermittent critical load. So basically, it was just like the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Several authors say that the Purity Distilling Company was trying to race out prohibition, as the 18th Amendment was ratified the next day and took effect 1 year later. So they were trying to fill it up and get it out as much as they could. An inquiry after the disaster revealed that Arthur Gell, USIA's treasurer, neglected basic safety tests while overseeing construction of the tank, such as filling it with water insufficient to check for leaks, and ignored warning signs such as groaning noises every time the tank was filled.
I don't think your tank is supposed to groan.
He also had no architectural or engineering experience.
Of course not, because okay.
When filled with molasses, the tank leaked so badly that it had to be painted brown to hide the leakage.
Are you serious? Wow.
Local residents actually collected this leaked molasses for their homes.
I mean, that's just bad businessmanship. Like, that's profits going down the drain. Like, at least, like, think about that to try and fix it, I guess. I don't know. Like, what? Okay.
A 2014 investigation applied a modern engineering analysis and found that the steel was half as thick as it should have been for a tank of that size, even with the lower standards they had at the time. Another issue was that the steel lacked manganese and was made more brittle as a result. So not only was it not thick enough, but it wasn't strong enough. Oh, but wait, the tank's rivets were also apparently flawed.
Oh my god.
And the cracks.
Did they just make this in a kindergarten like craft session? Hey, let's put those together and see.
I don't know.
Wow.
A 2016 team of scientists and students at Harvard University conducted extensive studies of the disaster, gathering data from many sources, including a 1919 newspaper article, old maps, and weather reports. The student researchers also studied the behavior of cold corn syrup flooding a scale model of the affected neighborhood. So they did like a straight up like. The researchers concluded that the reports of the high speed of the flood were credible. So it really was that fast. Like it wasn't just. 2 days before the disaster, warmer molasses had been added to the tank, reducing the viscosity of the fluid. When the tank collapsed, the flood cooled quickly as it spread until it reached Boston's winter evening temperatures, and the viscosity increased dramatically. The Harvard study concluded that the molasses cooled and thickened quickly as it rushed through the streets, hampering the efforts to rescue the victims before they suffocated.
That's insane. A wave of molasses did actually destroy buildings.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the that's what I got on the Great Molasses Flood of 1919.
That's insane.
So yeah, guys, that's it for this episode. If you enjoyed the podcast, don't forget to follow us, leave a comment if you're watching on YouTube. Hi, like and subscribe. I think we're are we 14 still or 15? We're getting up there.
15.
Let's go. Appreciate every single one of you.
You can also find us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok with our username at TTATA Podcast. And in the link of all of our bios is our email where you can leave comment, concern, ideas, what have you. Email us.
All the things. All the things. Thanks for listening again, guys. Next week, we're going to be doing true crime, but we're going to be spicing it up a little bit because it's like Christmas. We're here.
It's gonna be Christmas. True.
Gonna
crimes.
be Christmas. Christmas crew. What crew crime?
True.
Christmas.
Crimes.
True crimes.
And we'll actually
be great.
we'll be releasing the episode on Friday, so it's not actually released on Christmas Eve. So for all of you who do enjoy Christmas and stuff,
the holiday.
Yeah, the holidays. So,
but yeah, with that, we're gonna leave you with this amazingly inspirational quote because we all need it.
Your value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to see your worth.
Ooh,
and that's by unknown. We don't know who said that, but
they were really
amazing.
smart. Yeah. Jeez,
I think we both needed that this week.
Didn't
and maybe
we,
you guys do too.
Hope that hit as hard as it just did for me. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for hanging out, guys. See you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Do 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 do.